Thanks for joining us. Along with former NWSL forward Danny Foxhoven-Young, I'm Jake Griffith. This time last year, not many knew what to expect for the Minnesota Aurora. That season culminated in 13 wins and the finalist shield returning home to Egan. Danny, with two-thirds of that roster back, though, they're not going to take anybody by surprise.
You are absolutely right. We're going to see 17 returning players from last season, and we're also going to see 9 new faces this year, including 2 from Canada, 1 from the Dominican Republic, so it's going to be a lot of fun to see what they bring to the table this year.
As for Rochester FC, the Heartland Division's newest expansion franchise, coming off a 1-0 loss on Sunday against Bavarian United, their head coach Mo Dedic said it may take a few matches for this team to gel. Danny, in match number 2, a significant step up in competition.
Absolutely. It's going to be really interesting to see how Rochester responds after losing their first home game against Bavarians FC and now having to turn around and come play away against Minnesota Aurora in front of this crowd. It's going to be a steep hill to climb.
We'll head to break. On the other side, we'll take a look at how these teams line up. You're watching Fox 9. Back inside TCO Stadium, the Minnesota Aurora set to begin year number 2 in the USLW 2022 USLW runners-up. Lost in the title match to Tormenta South Georgia FC a season ago. Along with Danny Foxhoven-Young, I'm Jake Griffith, and as promised, let's take a look at how these sides line up. We'll start with the visitors from Rochester, Minnesota. Scratch that. We'll start with the home side, the Minnesota Aurora. Danny, a 4-1-4-1 attack for second-year head coach Nicole Lukic. What do you like about this form?
Well, this form says a lot about her mentality going into this game. You can see a lot of attacking players with a 4 midfield and 1 forward. Essentially, that's 5 players that are dedicated to an attack. So you're going to see a lot of attacking here, a lot of creativity. I think this is it's going to be a fun game to watch.
The visitors from Rochester will counter with a 4-4-2. Alcalde will get the nod and net the 2-striker approach, Chelsea Brown and Jada Brown. How does that match up against the Aurora's 4-1-4-1?
Well, you obviously have 2 players that are going to sit in between the 4-back line of Minnesota Aurora. So they're going to find nice pockets to be able to pop in and out of, especially with just one holding mid there. That's going to be a real challenge for Minnesota. Is going to have to really be organized on that back line.
The Loons donning the road gray and white kits. Minnesota Aurora in the traditional home navy midnight blue. Coco Alcalde, the native of Spain, the junior at LSU Shreveport there in the red shirt, number 0. 12 big saves in Sunday's 1-0 loss against Bavarian United. By all accounts, she was the reason that was so close. They were outshot 20-6 in that match.
Absolutely. Everybody that I talked to said she was the standout player of the game. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see her go up against this attacking-minded Minnesota Aurora team. It's definitely going to be a challenge for her.
The Aurora 11-0-1 in the regular season. Last year, one of only 3 USLW clubs to go unbeaten in the regular season. Eight 1-1 at home in that inaugural campaign in the USLW.
You can see the atmosphere out here is already really loud. It's really fun. Both teams are super hyped up. So I think there's going to be a lot of energy coming straight from the get-go.
And that's something, when we caught up with Minnesota's head coach Nicole Lukic, she said that's something that they need to manage in their training sessions and their scrimmages. They've been 100 miles an hour trying to be for 90 minutes, and she said that's not a realistic approach.
Absolutely, especially as the game, this is a long game, as we know. It can be 90 minutes plus, so in these kind of games, you really need to find your areas to control the tempo, slow the game down, find some rest, because otherwise you're just going to blow out your legs in the first 20 minutes, and that's obviously not a good game plan.
A highly anticipated opener here in Eagan, Minnesota. Just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Minneapolis. Another thing that Nicole Lukic brought up when we talked to her earlier this week, she said she wanted people to know just how difficult of a decision it was to come up with this first 18, the 11 starters, the 7 substitutes. And she said that really speaks to the depth that this year's team has.
Absolutely. You can see that she really put in a lot of work in the offseason to bring in players that were really high quality, that were going to up the tempo of the game this year, and you can see that in just the amount of players that she brought in. So it's going to be, every game is going to probably we'll see some new faces and shifting around of rosters, but yes, you're right, that does speak to the depth of the team.
Getting the start in net for Minnesota, Amanda Pourball, the redshirt freshman from Westerville, Ohio, the Penn State Nittany Lion, was a high school All-American during the 2020 season. Nicole Lukic also said picking from one of these 4 keepers they have on this year's roster was a tough decision, but they have the confidence in Amanda Pourball to get the nod. And we are off and running. The 2023 campaign underway for Minnesota. Rochester trying to play it through the middle, now to the outside, have some space to move. Played forward, and it was Rutledge who gave it away. Now taken away by Minnesota. Strong on the ball are the Aurora. Counter-attacking early. Looking for the angle to cross, and that ball, a clever ball played through, but no one on the receiving end of it.
And you can already see the amount of attacking mindedness in Aurora's game plan here. You can see they won the ball and immediately got to goal, had a cross across the face of the goal, already almost an opportunity on goal. You can see this is really going to be an attacking minded team.
That's another thing that Nicole Lukic brought up, the Aurora way, saying she wants her team to be brave on the ball, attacking, and when you're not in possession of the ball, go after it hard to try to win it back.
You're absolutely right. You can see last year they were the top goal-scoring team in the division, and I think you'll be able to see a lot more of that again this year.
A little too much weight behind that cross, and two players get tangled up. A free kick won here for the Aurora. It was Sophie French who was impeded there by the Rochester player. Sophie French, such an interesting prospect for this team because she was a national team replacement player for the Portland Thorns before joining the Aurora.
That's right. She's a real talent that we'll be on the lookout for this year. I think she's going to bring a lot to this squad.
Off the set piece, angling toward the back post. Now off the volley, that one goes high from Hannah Adler, peppering Coco Alcalde early with chances.
Right off the bat, we've seen two good chances, or at least in the final attacking third for Minnesota Aurora. So I think that this is a really great way for Minnesota Aurora to start this game.
Alcalde, the native of Spain, the junior at the NAIA level, plays for LSU Shreveport. 15 starts in her most recent collegiate season, had a 1.39 goals against average. Nearly a turnover for Rochester as that hangs in the air. And running out of room is Kennedy Faulkner. Faulkner spent 4 years at UCLA, also played in the Australian A Women's League.
And her and Harris actually both played in Canada together and are very familiar with each other. So you can see their duo is going to be really confident in the back there in the center back positions, knowing each other, having played together for so many years.
Aurora back on the ball now. Langdot played it forward. That's a great run by Wynn. Wynn plays it through. They're in. And that shot off the side netting, but again, Minnesota just a step quicker right now. A very bright start for the Aurora.
Absolutely. Sophie French coming all the way across the field. They're making a really amazing slashing run across the top of the box. A great little slicing ball through there. Any little swivel of the hip you'll see here on the replay, that slicing run through there. If she puts that back post on the ground, that's a goal every time.
Players battling for it again, and that will be a goal kick given to Alcalde and Rochester FC. That replay we just showed you really set up by Mariah Wynn, though, the Andover, Minnesota native. You see why she's in this starting 11 when she can make plays like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's a really fun player to watch. She was obviously one of the returning players from last year. She was a standout last year. It's fun to see her back in the starting lineup again this year. That just speaks to the amount of reliability that Coach Lukic has in her.
Poor ball came way off her line there to clear that away, and Nicole Lukic mentioned that they feel like Porball may be the best keeper on this roster with her feet. They want to try to use her maybe as an extra field player at times.
Absolutely, and you can see that in her confidence to come out there and use her feet. She really is functioning as that 11th player, whereas a lot of times keepers like to stay back in their box and maybe let the team play as though it's 10 and they're the additional one, to come in when it's needed. But you can see Porbach coming off her line there, really being confident.
A free kick given to the Aurora. Again, this is Tiana Harris who will take this. And Harris, really the gem of this newcomer class for the Aurora, the Mac Herman Trophy watch lister at Kent State, as that ball hangs in the penalty area and headed away.
Harris was also identified as one of the team's 4 captains, just being a leader right off the bat. So you can see that not only in the center back.
Oh, she's free.
There's a goal.
Gets past Alcalde. The Aurora open their account on 2023.
What a goal, what a finish there.
Again, the high press of the Minnesota Aurora paying dividends, forcing that turnover in the Rochester defensive third. And here's how it's set up.
What a great cross there. You can see just players are relentless in the box there, following up. First won the header, then second winning the bouncing ball after that to put it on goal. What a fantastic goal. And you can see that's 5.5 minutes in, comes with their first goal. You can see the amount of attacking mindedness here in this team.
And Langdock really sets this up as we take a look at the cultivated CBD charity goal. And it's Kat Rapp, the FIU Panther, native of Evergreen, Colorado, who gets on the board first. Aurora already back on it. Wind gives chase, and no one will catch up to that. Should be a goal kick, and it will be for Alcalde. Very reminiscent for Rochester FC in the early goings of their contest on Sunday. Gave up the early goal, and then after an extended injury stoppage, they sort of found their footing and struggling to do so now, though, against this high attacking pressure of Minnesota.
Yeah, you can see how high up Minnesota Aurora is holding their line. Even on the ball, on that goal kick where they're coming out, the players were standing really high, not letting them out very much.
Jada Brown impeded there. Brown, the senior out of Belize, plays at Campbellsville of the NAIA level, and that'll be Addison Wickers whistled for that infraction. One thing we talked a lot about as the Loons send that ball toward the net, and it takes an awkward hop off the foot. But one thing we talked a lot about in the run-up to the start of the match, Danny, was the wind playing a factor. You can see the corner flags, the shirts really flapping in the wind, and that will definitely play a factor in this match.
Absolutely, especially with those balls that go over the top. You can see that that's going to have more of an effect on how the ball bounces, on how far it even goes. So keeping the ball on the ground here, I think, is going to be a really important part to this game.
Aurora will have the throw on the far side. Here's Faulkner, the center back. Lobs one forward. That's Rapp, an onside play. In stride is Kat Rapp. Already has one goal to her credit this evening. Ball crossed into the penalty area. A dangerous spot here. Adler gloved away by Alcalde.
Another great save by Alcalde there.
Cleared away smartly by the back four there for Rochester. Just takes a little pressure off. Alcalde gives up some size in the net, about 5'6", but really makes expert saves like that.
Yeah, it's a great strike as well. It was a really good save by Alcalde.
Loons trying to clear the lines here. And it's intercepted by Kat Rapp. Rapp volleys one ahead, a straightaway save made by Alcalde. Alcalde has been busy early.
Yes, she has been. You can see how the 5 players in the attacking side of Minnesota Aurora are really putting pressure on high up the field against Rochester, and that's making it really difficult for Rochester to try to play out.
French wanted to play that through, just a little off the mark there, and it's scooped up by Alcalde to end the danger.
And you can see Rochester wants to play out of the back. They want to keep the ball on the ground. They want to try to connect passes to move the ball forward. But Minnesota Aurora is just smothering them so high up the field. It's making it really difficult for them to connect 3 or 4 passes.
And Rochester's loss on Sunday against Bavarian as another turnover for the Loons. They really came alive in the final 20 minutes, and that's something you saw they had success with in those final 20, building from the back to generate chances. Here's Adler streaking up the far side. Wants to play French through, and she will not win that foot race. Runs out of real estate. A goal kick coming for Alcalde. You mentioned it earlier, Danny. The Aurora highest scoring team in the USLW a season ago. 67% of the goals scored last year come back for this team.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I think that says a lot about the faith that Nicole Lukic has in those players and wanting them to be a part of the organization again this year. It also says a lot about the way that she wants the mentality of this team to continue to be. Let's go forward, let's score goals, let's have some fun.
12 multi-goal scoring outings last year. That was the most in the league. Second were Tormenta South Georgia FC. They also had 8 matches scoring 3 or more goals.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive stat.
Ball finds its way out. Rochester FC will have another throw.
And Coach Lukic did say that in that mentality to go forward, it's likely that you're probably going to give up some goals, and she's okay with that.
Wynn, strong run to win it back. Gets tangled up inside the penalty area. Fans looking for the call. They won't get it, and we play on. Quick throw taken by Langdock on the near side. Off the side netting again, was trying to find the angle for that cross and just could not.
And you can see Minnesota Aurora is really trying to play down the flanks of the field to get in behind them and make a cross across the face of the goal to get another goal-scoring opportunity. They're doing it time and time again. It is nice to see that it's coming down both sides of the field as well.
Intercepted by Maya Hansen in the middle. Now played ahead to Wynn. Wynn wants to cross, and a good job by the defender to step up and rip that away. Alleviates the pressure for Rochester FC. It'll be a Minnesota Aurora throw-in.
And Rochester really struggling to keep a hold of the ball here.
Loons have spent significant time on this end of the pitch. Haven't really seen them go forward with a lot of success early.
Absolutely. It's been a challenge for them to connect 3 or 4 passes even, and then to move that ball forward is even bigger challenge for them.
Faulkner forward to Hansen. Hansen surveys, plays Wynn through. This could be something here. Dangerous territory, and they double the advantage. A beautiful setup pays dividends for Minnesota Aurora. And it's Hannah Adler.
Once again, a great ball off the left side of the field, playing down the flank there, as you can see. A great cross in from the end line, and a wonderful 2-touch finish. Keeping it on the ground there, Alcalde had no chance.
A great first touch there from Adler to reel that in. And then, like you said, the second touch puts it home. Scoreline 2-0 in favor of Minnesota. Goals coming early and often for the Aurora.
Two goals this early make it a really, really steep hill for Rochester to try to climb in the back half of this game. Now, it is worth saying, too, though, Rochester does have some injuries that they have been facing already this early on in the season. So that does change a little bit in what their team could look like and does look like right now.
Lindsey Birch, their stout center back from Rochester, Minnesota, as the offside flag is up on the far side. Birch, a late scratch. She was in the starting 11, re-aggravated a leg injury. She, an Omaha player collegiately, and then of course Ana Ricarte Pacheco and Alivato both out for this match and could be out longer term.
Correct. Yeah, that's going to be a really tough blow for this Rochester team to have to handle, especially, like I said, this early on in the season. Lindsey Birch was one of the players that they were really looking to as a leader and as one of their main stays on the field. So even if that one's not for multiple games, losing her for this game is a really big blow.
Birch, as mentioned, plays collegiately at Omaha. 19 appearances in her most recent collegiate season. 857 minutes played last year for the Mavs. Langdock tries to step up, couldn't corral that one in. Perhaps a chance here for Rochester to get something going, but as soon as I say that, it's taken away by Langdock. Langdock will hurl it in from the substitution area. It's Adler and Wynn with the goals for Minnesota Aurora early on, just across the 16th minute here at TCO Stadium. Beyond just this match in the USLW, there's been so much expansion, Rochester FC a part of that. This Heartland division looks significantly different. St. Louis dropped out. RKC Third Coast up in Wisconsin joins Bavarian United as well, and this Rochester FC team. One thing that Nicole Lukic had talked about during the team's media availabilities during the preseason training was, yeah, it's going to be harder for Minnesota to replicate what they did last year just because of how much talent the USLW has added.
Absolutely. The USLW League has, you see across the country, they are trying to bring expansion clubs that bring a lot of talent, that bring fanfare, that bring a story behind them. You can see that with the likes of Bavarian FC, which is one of the oldest clubs in the United States. So it's really cool to see what they're trying to do with this league. You can see the structure they're trying to create around it, and it's a really great second season to be able to watch.
44 clubs in the inaugural campaign for the USLW last year, now up to 65. 20 new markets they've added teams in, including 2 new divisions on the West Coast.
And those clubs are getting amazing attendance already.
Faulkner steered it back to the keeper and poor ball. Now here's Harris carrying it forward. Former MAC Defensive Player of the Year at Kent State. That's a beautiful ball ahead, but Alcalde a step quicker and will gobble that up. That wind coming into play there, that took an odd bounce off the foot, and Minnesota back on it. Here's French on the doorstep. Great save by Alcalde.
Not only is Rochester FC having to face 5 players in the attacking side playing great defense really high on the field, but they're also having to go against the wind, which is making it hard for them to even clear the ball.
Throw finds its way in, and again, Alcalde slams the door shut. Ball is still live. Danger zone for Rochester.
And what a fantastic reaction save there by Alcalde.
Here's Hansen with it. Hansen hounded from behind there by the defender, and we'll play it back to Faulkner. Talked about Rochester building from the back. Now Minnesota trying to build a little bit from the back.
Absolutely. This is what we talked about a little bit earlier in the game, where Minnesota Aurora is really going to have to try to control the tempo, bring the energy level down a little bit, because all of the girls are so excited, so amped up to be playing in their first game.
Wrap over to Hansen, looking to take it wide, and sends that shot wide of the cage. That will be another goal kick for Coco Alcalde.
Another great shot here. You can just see the mentality of these players is get forward, get a shot on goal, do it as fast as we can.
Closing in on 20 minutes elapsed here in this first half from TCO Stadium. Not much to write home about offensively for Rochester. Once again, Coco Alcalde has been the strength of the team. Meanwhile, for the Minnesota Aurora, they've capitalized on their chances. As French will reel that one in. Tried to withstand a challenge, and they'll whistle French for the infraction. Free kick upcoming for Rochester.
And Coach Lukic did say that a big focus for them this year was to be relentless on defending and attacking set pieces. You can see when they're attacking, they've had a lot of really great chances of winning balls in the air, getting them on goal. They haven't had to do that so much defensively. It has been tough for Rochester even to get the ball up in the air in defense of them because of the wind.
Here's Harris surveying, and a little miscommunication there between teammates as that sails out. About the farthest up the pitch we've seen Rochester in quite some time. We'll see if they can make something of that. Looked like it was going to be a Loons throw. Instead, the official corrects himself. It'll be an Aurora throw in from that far side.
Looked like the sideline ref had it right the first time.
Ball played into the wide area looking for Langdock, and that just out of Langdock's reach.
Minnesota Aurora is really trying to move the ball from one side to the other, playing through their midfielders, coming from right to left or left to right, while Rochester is having a really hard time moving the ball in either direction, really just trying to connect a pass or two and try to get out of a tight area because there is so much pressure coming from Minnesota Aurora.
And some of that goes to chemistry. That's something that we talked about it in the open, and Mo Dedic, the Rochester FC coach, talked about it as well. You don't have that long of an offseason with the team in person. I mean, he even said most of these girls don't know each other. They've only been here just a couple weeks. To have success in this sport, you have to click. The chemistry has to be there. You'll build that over time. Speaking of building, here's a good build-up for the Minnesota Aurora, and that shot sails wide. Another strong chance for Minnesota.
Once again, coming down that left side, getting to the end line, crossing it. This time she decided to pull it back to the top of the box. Honestly, it was a great shot, just a little high.
Those navy shirts of Minnesota closing in once again. Wickers will get whistled for that challenge on Abby Rutledge.
It is a challenge for all of these players to have hardly any time together before the season really starts, for them to get to know each other, to find some rhythm, to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are.
And this is a poorly timed turnover here for Harris. That shot wide of goal. But the best opportunity we've seen from Rochester FC this entire match, Harris just couldn't settle the header.
And you can see this is exactly what Coach Lukic was saying. She wanted to be the one winning those balls off of long set pieces like that. Came off of Tiana Harris's head, flicked on almost. So it was almost like she gave that to Rochester.
Aurora will have the throw. Going back, though, to that Rochester chemistry, you know, you're right. It is very difficult when you have just a couple weeks with players who really don't know each other. You could almost see the frustration, not with the players, but just the situation on Dedic's face. He even said, hey, I'm a competitor. I want to win, but he understands the uphill climb that his team will have to make.
Sure, that's the challenge of this league, really, because a lot of these players are coming in for a really condensed, short season. They don't have that much time together. Even by the end of the season, it's really only been like 10 weeks. So a lot of improvement has to happen really quickly, and players have to be firing on all cylinders straight from the get-go.
Langdock's ground pass trickled through, but the flag is up on the far side.
Tight call there by the sideline ref.
Heard a lot of Mackenzie Langdock's name early in this. The former Minnesota Golden Gopher 2017 to 2021 was an all-region third-team selection in the North region in her final season with Minnesota. Here's Wickers able to fend off a challenge.
Mackenzie Langdock is a real fan favorite here in Minnesota because she is a homegrown player. She was here last year as well, so everybody knows her name. Everybody loves her. They love the way that she plays. It's been really cool to see her grow over the last 2 years.
Faulkner will take this free kick. That hangs high in the air and somehow comes down and gets in the vicinity of the goal.
You almost want to see that ball come back across the face of the goal again after that long set piece there.
Played forward to Ledoux, one of the two Ledouxs on this roster. We have a set of twins and a set of triplets competing against each other tonight. That was Melanie Ledoux, her other sister Kristen Ledoux, the late addition to the lineup in place of Lindsay Birch.
Out on the other side of the field.
Harris volleys that one ahead. That finds Wynn for a moment. And Wynn hits the turf. That will win a free kick for Minnesota. Harris with plenty of space to move forward. Instead dumps it off to a teammate.
And you can see one of the big differences here from Rochester and Minnesota Aurora is the way that Rochester is actually backing off and letting the back line of Aurora play with the ball. So they're slowing the game down, playing between their center backs, playing it wide, then moving forward. Whereas when Rochester has the ball, Minnesota Aurora is as high up the field as they can get, trying to win that ball back.
Ball flicked back ahead. Here's Adler fighting off the challenge, and a short but smart clearance for Rochester. Back on the ball are the Aurora. That goes wayward behind the cage. You talk about that backing up, though, for Rochester, sort of giving the Aurora more space to move. In your opinion, is that a confidence issue? Is it a chemistry thing? Are they just not sure of themselves early on?
I think that's more of a game mentality. It's a game plan that usually comes from the coach. So his thought might be, we might not be able to keep up with Minnesota Aurora's pressure for all 90 minutes. So let's give them the time and space to play back there, because there's not as much that we need to be worried about back there.
Well, Calde comes up with possession of it, and we'll roll it out wide to Mizutani. Fans in attendance might know that name. Lisa Mizutani plays at St. Thomas, not far up the road from here.
Absolutely, a little home derby going on.
The Tommies just wrapped up their second year transitioning to the Division I level, all the way from D3. Impressive stuff as they jumped up to the Summit League.
Yeah, big move for them. Minnesota has certainly been proud of having another Division I team to go support.
That's always been the thing you hear about with Minnesota, having such a large population, but only one Division I team to go out and support. Now they have two.
Yes, and it's nice that it's within the Twin Cities range, so a lot of fans can go out and support.
Aurora had a couple of friendlies over the weekend at the campus of St. Thomas. I had a chance to go check those out. I'd never been to St. Thomas before. Very nice campus.
It is. It's beautiful.
Here's Harris feeling some pressure from Jada Brown, and she'll steer it back to Amanda Pourbaugh.
Again, Pourbaugh is looked to be a 11th player here, so you can see she's wanting to be on the ball, wanting to be a part of this back line, help them keep possession, switch sides of the field here, come down one side, nope, it's not on, now we turn and go back the other side.
Langdock, eyes ahead, plays it forward to Hansen. Now Hansen surveys. Tried to play Wynn through, and just a little too much weight behind that. It's cleared away. The Aurora still with it. They'll have the throw on the near side.
Great run from Wynn, though. Again, cutting across their defensive back line, finding the gaps in between their center backs and outside backs. Really wanting to be on the ball.
Here's Hansen trying to carve an opening for the Aurora. Back to her from Wynn. Langdock. A low cross. That cut out by the defender.
She saw that gap there. It was a good look. Maybe a second earlier and it would have gone through.
Two players get tangled up on the near side. Hansen will win the throw in for the Aurora. Promising build-up here for Minnesota. Adler, top of the penalty area. That shot blocked. And the flag comes up to end a great offensive possession for Minnesota.
Sophie French laying it back for it was a great play, and then turning and actually being the one to block the goal. It was a good goal-scoring opportunity, though. Again, great ball across the field. You can see they're wanting to play down that left side of the field, get it across the face of the goal. You can see it's time and time again, it's very successful.
The wind coming into play once again. A couple napkins blown onto the pitch. Here's Hansen adding width to the attack. Now cutting in. That one just behind Kat Rapp, who's already struck once. Now French has a go of it. Not much on that shot.
A little ambitious there.
A strong challenge applied by Wynn, and it wins a throw in for Minnesota. Aurora have really settled into this high attacking pressure we've talked a lot about. Meanwhile, Rochester's still trying to figure things out, crack that code.
Absolutely. Well, 2 goals can really do that for you. It gives you a little bit of time to take a deep breath, settle the game down, be in control of the tempo, and honestly take a little bit more risks higher up the field, saying, let's win this ball up here, let's score more goals. If we get beaten behind, the rest of our team is there behind us to take care of what we just got beat by, maybe.
Langdock will take this free kick. If she can really curl this one in, it could be a good opportunity. Sends that ball to the back post and headed out past the end line for another Rochester FC goal kick.
You see 4 players there crashing the net. You can really tell that they're wanting to score as many goals as possible.
French applies the pressure, goes down, and a whistle. Early on, Sophie French has really had Kristen Ledoux in her pocket.
I would say the same on the other end with Mariah Wynn. The 2 outside backs getting a lot of attention this game already.
Over a half hour elapsed in this contest. Aurora still enjoying a 2-0 lead.
Back-to-back set pieces here. See if Minnesota Aurora can get their head on this one as well.
Ball hanging into the net, and Alcalde gloves that down. She went down, and nearly a bicycle kick goes off the woodwork.
My goodness. What a great attempt there. Left-footed bike, almost unheard of. The fans on their feet, just incredible.
The Aurora have done some impressive things across the last year and now today, but if she could have hit this, that would have been something spectacular.
My goodness. Bike over the head, left-footed, just off the crossbar there.
Langdock, too much behind that. It goes caroming out all the way back to Adler.
Again, Aurora, 3 players almost unmarked in the center of the box there. Rochester's just really struggling to get any sort of clearance out, and then also struggling to mark their players on the backside.
It was a free header for Mariah Wynn that just went wide of the near post. Guided back to Alcalde. Right to the feet of Sophie French, who steps up with the interception. Now French played forward. Hansen through to Rapp, and Kat Rapp completes the brace. A 3-0 lead for the Aurora.
Just a fantastic goal, team play. You could see they won it in midfield and immediately went to goal. All the players were going forward. Both from Mariah Wynn, you can see here, won the ball in midfield. Again, little slice through there. Sophie French coming from outside to in. All of the runs were just, it was too much for Rochester to handle.
A 3-0 lead. Kat Rapp, the FIU Panther, a brace to open the season. And we're back underway. 3 first-half goals for the Minnesota Aurora. Still 10 minutes or so left to play in this opening stanza. It has been a complete domination so far for Minnesota.
Yeah, that goal actually started from a goal kick for Rochester, where they tried to play out of the back. Alcalde actually made the decision to try to make a clearance and get the ball out of there, where it was just won by Minnesota Aurora.
And here's Hansen from outside the penalty area. She strikes from distance.
Caught everybody a little bit off guard, I think, including Alcalde there. A nice little bent ball on the ground to the corner, almost unstoppable by Alcalde.
What a season opening performance it's been so far for the Aurora. Good setup here from Adler, the cultivated CBD charity goal. And Hansen does the rest.
What a great finish there. A little inside of the foot bend, put a little spin on the ball, almost bending around Alcalde there. She almost had no chance, especially because it was so quick on the fire. It was a touch step and then a strike right after it.
That's Hansen's first of the season, had 4 last year.
Looks like we had to get a new ball there.
Play resumes, 4-0 lead for Minnesota Aurora over Rochester.
And that was back-to-back goals there. Rochester just cannot seem to get it out of their back half of their field. Just not good enough on their touches, on their possession, on the speed of their play.
Danny, from that player's perspective, when you're down by this many, especially early, it's still the first half, how do you fight off maybe that demoralizing feeling? How do you not let that creep in?
I once had a coach tell us if they scored 4 goals in one half, we can score 4 goals in one half. So that's kind of the mentality I've always had, but it certainly is not easy to come back and say, okay, we can hang, we can try to change the way that we're playing, change the way the game is going here, especially against a team that is really putting the pressure on so high up the field. You really have to do a lot. It's a steep hill to climb, that's for sure.
And maybe there is something to that mentality, hey, if they score 4, we can score 4. It's like Marcus Smart, the Boston Celtics, said, don't let us get 1. All you need is 1.
Absolutely. 1 goal at a time.
And it sounds very coach-speaky to say that, but that really is true.
Absolutely it is. And I can tell you as a player and as a coach, the tempo of games switches all the time. 1 goal can really make a difference in the mentality of a team. It can change the way the energy is going. It can change the momentum of a game. So I do not count them out.
Langdock ahead to Wynn. Wynn has Langdock on the overlap. Now played ahead to her. Out to the wide spaces. Langdock wants to cross. Off the volley, Rapp will send that wide. Rapp had her sights set on a third.
Absolutely. I mean, great strike there. Might be a good time to take another touch, keep the ball down, keep it settled, maybe keep possession, but I don't think that's what Coach Lukic wants to see. She wants to see them taking some chances, try it, why not? And especially when you're up 4-0, maybe a good time to try it.
Adler steps in front, wins it back for the Aurora. Minnesota back on the prowl. Wynn heading for the corners. And Rochester will just dump that out of play to take the pressure off.
You can see the confidence of Mariah Wynn wanting the ball at her feet, wanting to take on Rochester's back line, 1 or 2 players at a time even.
Langdock elevates that to the back post, and it was over everyone's head and out for another goal kick. Closing in on the 40th minute, 5 to go until the halftime whistle.
At this point, I think Rochester is just trying to get to that halftime so that they can regroup, maybe make some switch-ups, some transitions, bring in some other players even if needed. But I think that at this point, they're really just trying to stop the bleeding, if you will.
They've only played one match in their club's history, so it's hard to call them a second-half team. But going back to that point earlier, they really looked like a second-half team against Bavarian United on Sunday. Had a lot of strong chances in that second half. So, like you said, sure, down 4-0, but by no means are they out of this.
Absolutely not. One goal at a time is like, that's going to be the mentality for them to try to climb their way back into the game.
Here's French ahead. Headed away from Hansen. Had two defenders marked on her in the middle of the penalty area.
I was going to say one of those defenders was actually pulled off Mariah Wynn, which had that ball dropped at her feet would have been another really dangerous opportunity for Aurora.
Alcalde able to punch that away. And Sarah Speltz with it on the far side. A well-timed challenge there, able to block that clearance out.
Again, too many touches, though, out of Rochester's back line. She had plenty of time to clear the ball, find a pass, took too many touches, and Aurora won the ball back again really high up the field.
French had a go of that, and it was blocked away. Aurora still with it. It's Adler. Adler fighting off the challenge. Now here's Wickers, hangs one in. Wrap there on the doorstep, and Alcalde got a piece of it. Once again, Rochester FC's backs no choice but to just clear it out.
Looked like both players were kind of shying away from the ball there, afraid they were going to hit each other, I think.
French with it. Now Hansen. That ground pass deflected off of French, and they'll clear the lines at least for a moment.
And once again, Rochester's highest player there, almost 3/4 of the way up the field. There's not a lot of depth there, a lot of depth for Rochester to try to play out.
A shot blocked away by Alcalde. In spite of conceding the 4 goals, she has made some really strong saves in this first half.
She has. You can see her confidence might be shaken a little bit. She's dropped the last couple of balls here. Didn't come out on that last challenge, afraid she was going to get hit. So that confidence might be shaken a little bit.
Harris will carry it forward. Now here's Wynn weaving through. Crafty is Mariah Wynn. And just a little bit of daylight allowed the defender to clear it away. It was Rutledge who stepped up for the clearance.
Once again, she wanted to take on 3 or 4 players there herself. I like to see that confidence.
Hansen steps in front of the clearance and forces a Loons turnover. Kristen Ledoux felt the heat, and it's Langdock who will throw it in for Aurora.
Aurora here moving the ball once again from left to right through their midfield back to their center backs and then out wide on the other side. Just great playing there. Connecting 3, 4, 5, 6 passes pretty easily.
Even though that fizzled out at the last minute, that most recent one we just saw was great. From the far side, just grazes the head of Wynn and nearly gets to the feet. I believe that was Kat Rapp who was there on that near post.
And again, you can see not only are we seeing just the forwards for Aurora, for Maya Hansen up there by herself, but oftentimes the 10s, so the two attacking midfielders for Aurora getting forward as well. It's almost like they have 3 forwards.
Another whistle comes in from the official. Harris will quickly take the free kick. Closing in on the 45th minute here. 4 goals in the opening half for Aurora. Here's Hansen now.
Maya Hansen did a pretty good job there of holding the ball up. A lot of times that high forward's role is to check in, find the ball at her feet, and lay it off to her attacking mids, who then are the ones to go forward. So great showing there by Maya Hansen.
It looked like Mariah Wynn got a little tangled up with a Rochester player behind the play. That will result in a free kick here for Alcalde. Out for a Rochester throw. For those unfamiliar with the USLW game in comparison to the collegiate game, there are some differences as Minnesota back on it. Into the hands of Alcalde. It hit the feet of Adler. There is no re-entry on the substitution in the USL women's side. There is added time and stoppage time, which is different from the college game as well.
That's correct. There's also, I believe 7 subs allowed to be made. You just can't re-enter. So that does allow for a lot of changes to happen throughout the game.
Adler taking it wide, and Alcalde read it well and lunged for the stop.
Alcalde, you can see really being aggressive and coming off of her line there. That was a really good play by her to read that play and come off her line.
The whistle sounds from our official in charge, and we head to halftime. A 4-0 lead for Minnesota Aurora over Rochester FC. A statement 45 minutes for the Aurora in their season opener. We'll head to break here on Fox 9, the halftime report on the other side.
Well, thanks so much for watching. It's halftime now. The Aurora's season opener against Rochester FC. Of course, Aurora leading here at the halftime, 4-0.
Let's get right back out to TCO Performance Center with Pierre Nugent and Jennifer McDermott soaking in the atmosphere. Pierre and Jennifer, it looks like a whole lot of fun out there.
Tim and BC, I don't want to say you guys are missing out on the fun, but they kind of are. You guys are definitely missing out on the fun. It's 4-0. The crowd is, I'm not going to lie, the stands are packed around the entire stadium. A lot of people cheering, a lot of fans super happy right now. It's a great atmosphere, and weather-wise, it's also a really great atmosphere. A little chilly now that the sun has set, because the winds have picked up a little bit, so I'm happy I brought my layer. But otherwise, it is a perfect evening for some soccer. And not just soccer, but, we're winning. This is winning soccer.
A very winning soccer indeed. Yeah, it is 4-0. Yeah, I mentioned to you, I'm a little disappointed that I didn't bring a longer sleeve. The wind's got a little bit of a chill, so I'll take that L for the time being. But right now, it does look like Minnesota Aurora is going to be taking an L anytime soon here tonight in the season opener, as they currently lead it 4-0 at the half. Catherine Rapp, the star of the first half, with 2 goals in that first half. So we still have another 45 minutes to play here tonight. But right now, in all my years of watching soccer, I don't think I've ever seen a team come back to win after being down 4-0. So right now it's looking very good for Minnesota Aurora. A good debut, especially when you consider they have 9 new faces on this team. So far, so good.
Yeah, and it's not just the soccer game that's a lot of fun, but did you know they're giving out beer samples on the other side?
I should have figured you would be the one to find that out. Yeah.
I'm working, so I haven't tasted anything. I haven't looked at any samples. I've looked at the samples, but I haven't tasted the samples. But there's a lot going on. The mascots running around here. There's a big drum set in parts of the stands. There's all sorts of action going on outside of the soccer game. So not only is it fun for seeing the sport, but it's fun to bring your family and the kids have a place to run around. And it's overall, the atmosphere is just, it is. I didn't know what to expect. This is my first Aurora game, and I don't know.
You're
speechless.
Blown away. You
I'm
sound
speechless.
like you're blown away.
Yeah, pretty much.
We saw Aurora fans coming out in full force last season, and they have certainly shown up in full force yet again for the season opener. Tonight is the first of 12 matches on the season. All of the home games, mind you, if you didn't already know, can be seen right here on Fox 9 Plus throughout the season, and we will have an update on this game coming up tonight at 9 and 10 on Fox 9. Again, right now, Aurora leading it 4-0 over Rochester FC. BC, Tim, send it back to you.
All right. Looks like a fun time out there, guys. Thanks. And the Aurora are not the only ones taking the field today in the Twin Cities. In fact, the Twins, they close out their series now against the Giants this afternoon.
Sports director Jim Rich joins us now. And Jim, it was another big pitching performance from Joe Ryan.
Yeah, Joe Ryan really has turned out to be the Twins' ace. He was good a year ago, but he's even better this time around. He fought through some issues today, Tim and BC, but still was able to pick up his 7th win of the season. After Ryan got through the first half inning unscathed, the Twins came up to bat and gave him an early lead. Eddie Julian smashes his first ever leadoff home run and also his first ever at Target Field, 1-0. After the Giants tied it up, the Twins jump back in front when Matt Wallner finds the wall in right. Willie Castro, who doubled earlier, comes in to score, and the Twins were back in front 2-1. The Twins very aggressive on the base pass with the double steal, and the Giants bite. Willie Castro steals home, first Twins player to steal home since 2013. Ryan had lots of traffic on the bases today, but limited the damage with some timely strikeouts, and the Twins go on to win 7-1, salvaging one game out of this series. They'll host Toronto starting tomorrow night, and maybe the Aurora can put 7 on the board. They're well on their way, Tim Beese.
They're doing all right, aren't they? All right, still ahead here at the half, we're going to be featuring some of the team's top players throughout the season.
We'll introduce you to defender Tiana Harris, who looks to be a role model for young girls on the field and make a statement with her fashion sense off the field.
Well, year 2 with the Aurora features some new faces on the roster, and one player who will stand out quickly on and off the field is Tiana Harris.
At Kent State, the defender was named to the Max Herman Trophy watch list and was an all-MAC first team selection. As Don Mitchell tells us, Tiana joins the team eager to be a new leader both on and off the field.
Strong, confident leader.
Those are the top 3 words Aurora defender Tiana Harris uses to best describe herself. But that's just scratching the surface.
Also someone who cares about the community. I want someone to little girls to look up to me and want to be just like me and be a part of this and be a part of Aurora as well. Trying to be a voice when like it's hard to be heard, because you want so much for your sport, you want so much for other women as well. So just being able to like grow up and have that motivation to try and get the world on the same page, to try and get everybody on the same page and have that type of support has been like the goal.
Tiana is excited to not only inspire young girls and women, but to lead by example and play great soccer. She played college ball at Mississippi State and Kent State, and before that was a standout for FC Durham. She's in Minnesota now and already blown away by the incredible Aurora culture and people.
How much the community pours into this team and how much work goes on behind the scenes is quite amazing, and they make you feel at home like right away. Like it was just overwhelming love and like just appreciation. So I think that was just unreal to experience.
Tiana hails from Canada and is a two-time Ontario Soccer League champion. And she says while support for women's sports is growing in Canada, the USA is setting the bar.
I think America, you guys do it really big. I won't lie. Everything that you guys do here is just, I think the whole world kind of wants to represent that as well, that love and passion for sport. I came from like a little city, Whitby, Ontario, and majority of the time people were just, there wasn't a lot of support around our sport, especially for women and young girls as well. So I think kind of just seeing what you guys have done here and like the growth that's coming within the world of women's sports is amazing.
Spending time with her family is important, especially with her mom, Janet, who has been her rock, supporting her every endeavor. And if she's not hanging out or watching a movie with her mom, Tiana could be checking out the latest trends on the runway.
And I'm kind of into fashion. I like fashion is like always interests me, and that's just kind of one thing that I just try to express myself through what I wear as well.
What's your favorite, if you have a designer, or your favorite style? If we had to say, what's Tiana's style?
I would say like chill, athleisure, like a little bit of athletic, but also a little bit of drip. We call it drip.
Well, you got that going on right now, don't you?
Barely. I got the Aurora drip on today.
And speaking of drip, she hopes to see some young fans wearing her name and number on the back of a t-shirt or jersey one day. Your last name on the back of their t-shirts.
Yes, I will literally cry the day that I see that. Like, that would be amazing.
Great little profile there. Thanks so much for watching your Fox 9 Plus halftime report.
Let's get you back out to Egan for the second half.
Just moments away from the start of half number 2 here at TCO Stadium, along with Danny Foxhoven-Young. I'm Jake Griffith. A 4-goal output in the first 45 minutes for the Minnesota Aurora. Cat Rapp completing the brace early on to lead the way. Danny, as we take a look back at that first half, quickly, what are some adjustments you're making for Rochester?
They definitely need to make some substitutions in the back line. I wouldn't be surprised even if we see Alcalde come out. She's had a tough couple of games, making a lot of saves, but after 4 goals, it does kind of take a hit to the confidence level, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a change in the back line or the goalie. But they really have a tough challenge in front of them. I think the game plan at halftime was probably around, we need to keep the ball more, we need to be on the front foot, we need to be defending better, marking our players more, tracking on the back post, defending from the outside and keeping their wide attackers wide instead of letting them cut across the front of the goal. So there's probably a lot of changes that need to be made, but we probably will see some player changes as well.
Conversely for Minnesota, more of the same in the second half. Don't take your foot off the gas pedal.
Absolutely. I again wouldn't be surprised to see some new players getting into the game here, especially some of the younger, more inexperienced players. This is a great time for Aurora to try out new things, to see how players mesh at different points in the game, maybe see some players playing some different positions. So I will guess that we'll probably see some new faces on the Aurora side as well.
Look there just moments ago at Rochester FC on the sideline. The positive for the Loons is that despite being in a 4-goal hole, the energy seemed high and they still seemed invested in what was going on.
Absolutely. I think in this kind of environment, everybody wants to play to the best of their ability, to the highest level, and with that, if nothing else, comes high energy. So I wouldn't be surprised from them to see, let's bring the energy. If we can't do anything else, let's at least bring the energy.
A great turnout of Aurora fans, and they've had a lot to cheer about through 45 minutes.
As we said in the first half, there are 7 subs that you can make, so that's almost a full change across the field. So there's a lot of room for different players to be coming in.
We knew it was going to be an uphill climb for Rochester in this match, just getting their program off the ground. But expansion franchises this year have had a tough go of it. 17-30-1 record for expansion teams in 2023 coming into this evening. And if this scoreline holds up, that loss column will grow by at least 1 more. And I think it just goes to show, put at least into perspective, how impressive what Minnesota did last year was first year of a program. You go undefeated in a regular season. It is difficult to get a program off the ground.
Absolutely. Last year, everybody was a new team, so everybody was kind of fighting that uphill battle. This year, there's only so many new teams that have come into the league, and all of them have to face teams that are tenured, teams that understand the pressure that comes with this kind of a season that is really condensed. So that makes it really difficult for these new franchises to come in and get up to speed really quickly.
Back underway here in the second half. Aurora already on the ball, attacking. Progressing toward that final third, and a whistle comes in, which will break that up. It was Jada Brown, the Campbellsville senior of the NAIA level, who went down, and she's slow to get up for a minute. A little knock on Brown. Free kick given and taken by Rochester. Aurora come back up with it, and Minnesota will build from the back. Here's Harris, the captain. Finds Lydia Rupert. Rupert give and go to Zbilic. Hansen. Rapp, she has a brace. Here's Rapp's shot blocked away. Still alive. Langdock tried to cross and instead deflected off the boots of Jada Brown. That's out for a Minnesota corner.
Aurora getting positions involved all across the field. Rupert was coming from a holding midfield spot all the way along the outside there, getting to the end line almost as a holding mid. Pretty astonishing.
Wickers will take this in-swinging ball. It's live inside the penalty area. An awkward clearance for Rochester FC. It goes caromming out, and it will be a Minnesota throw-in. Here's Hansen. That shot gloved away. It's Emma Knack.
Great strike there. It actually had some outsides of the foot spin there, so it's actually going away from the goalie. Made it really difficult for the goalie there to make a save.
And you were right on the nose with your second half adjustments. Coco Alcalde has come out. Emma Knack, the high schooler out of Minnesota, in net for the second 45 for Modetić. That save does concede a corner, and they'll short the corner. Wickers just runs out of room. Throw in for Rochester FC. Despite being in high school, Emma Knack does have great experience, has actually played on the varsity team of her high school for 6 years. So even before she got into high school, already signed to go play for South Dakota State in 2027.
That's a pretty impressive stat there for her. That's good level of experience for her to have. Always playing up a couple years is really impressive there. I think having said that, as a high schooler, you can see across the league there is going to be a gap in the level of play just because you have players who are more tenured, who are coming out of playing with professional teams like Sophie French, some players who are coming from Australia, have national team experience, and then you're playing against high schoolers. So I think we'll see that throughout the league where there will be a pretty big gap in that level of experience.
Ball played through, and no one on the receiving end except Amanda Pourball. Rochester FC has a mix of high school players along with those players with the collegiate experience, but you're right. You look at the Aurora roster, the way it's comprised. Not only do they have a year under their belt, most of them at this level, a lot of them are either in the late stages of college careers, have wrapped up college careers. In fact, only one high schooler on the roster for Minnesota Aurora, that's Bayless Flynn, who even she is finishing up that career and off to Montana next.
That's correct. And you will see, even across the NWSL, which is the women's professional league here in the United States, that many of those players, like they're actually starting to sign some 15, 16, 17-year-olds. So there is a lot of really amazing young talent coming up right now, but I wouldn't say that's the case just across the country for players being able to play up so many years at this kind of a high level and be able to adjust to it so quickly.
Here's Faulkner. Sends one forward, and Emma Knack will come off her line to grab that. Kennedy Faulkner, neither she nor Tiana Harris have been terribly busy along that back line, but Faulkner, another one of those impressive players with national team experience, had earned an international cap back in 2015, the youngest ever center back for the Canadian women's national team at 16 years old.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And the Canadians are so talented, obviously.
As Harris gets tangled up, and a whistle comes in from the official, it looks as though Minnesota have won a free kick.
As I was saying, the Canadians are so talented. Obviously, their team in the last couple of World Cup and Olympic performances have just been standout, and now you're seeing so many of these Canadian players come play in the U.S., whether it be at college or even in the professional level, and I really think that that's lending to the talent that is coming out of Canada right now.
Harris, tough pass through the middle, intercepted. And now perhaps something here against the grain for Rochester. A solid build-up. Here's Speltz. Back inside, finds Rutledge. Rutledge fending off one and now two challenges as Wickers comes over and just guides that out.
That's probably the longest amount of time that Rochester has spent in their attacking third of the field.
Ball carried up the foot there of the defender. Awkward clearance and goes off the woodwork, I believe. Poor ball. It looked like she got a piece of that, and she did.
Got to be safe there. Don't want that just in case. You do not want that coming in behind you.
And that's one thing that Nicole Lukic identified when we talked to her was last year they were on the negative end of a couple of those awkward long balls, long set pieces that didn't go their way. And she said they really want to tighten that up this year.
Absolutely. You definitely do not want to get beat in the air.
Outswinging ball, low line drive, top of the penalty area, and that goes into the supporter section behind the goal. It looks like it did take a deflection off an Aurora player. Another corner here for Rochester.
This is probably Rochester's best chances here in the game so far.
Even though the deficit is much larger than Sunday, it is reminiscent of Sunday's match against Bavarian, where they started to find that footing in the second half. Now back-to-back corners here for the Loons. Rutledge will take it from the near side. Angling toward the back post, still free. Shot blocked by Langdock. Mizutani tries to tuck one back inside. Brown will run it down, and they'll play it all the way back to Emma Knack. You want to talk about sweeper keeper. Emma Knack almost near the midfield stripe.
It almost seemed like Rochester wanted to keep possession there. The rest of the team was moving as though they were trying to get the ball and keep it. Emma Knack made this decision to go back over the top, which I think made it difficult for Rochester to get back on their front foot there.
Zbielich fights off a challenge. Now tangled up is Hansen.
This half, Rochester has come out with a ton more energy, higher press defensively, not letting Aurora be able to keep the ball down, turn as easily. They're really kind of trying to force them backwards and play higher up the field.
They've made a couple changes as well, moved some players around, inserted players that we did not see in that first half.
I think with those changes, they were definitely trying to change the energy of the group on the field. And you can see that was a pretty successful change made there.
Here's Lydia Rupert, had it for a moment and couldn't settle it. Rupert, the native of Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's Speltz who will throw it in near side.
Looked like that was an improper throw there, maybe.
Zbielich pounces on that loose ball, and that will win another throw for Minnesota. Jelena Zbielich, the native of Excelsior, Minnesota, spent the last 3 years at University of Illinois, Chicago. Entered the transfer portal, came to the Golden Gophers. 17 appearances last year for the Flames, and a big reason why Minnesota on that last possession has a corner kick now. Harris gets to it first. It's still free. A short clearance. Langdock on it as the possession lives. Tried one too many moves, wanted to be crafty. And the defender, smart job to step up and take that away.
A crafty center back there. You like to see the confidence of a center back trying to play with the ball and get a shot off. That's pretty rare to see. I will say, you could see on that corner, it actually kind of whipped out. It landed just at the top of the box there. I think that's due a lot to the wind still, and maybe the momentum switch has to do a lot with the wind as well. A little bit easier for Rochester to play out of the back with the wind behind them now. I will say, as a player back in the day, playing against wind was one of the hardest weather challenges to play against. I could play in snow, rain, but when wind came in, it made it really difficult.
Langdock, good job. Read that well and stepped up to take it away. Just pushed it a little far ahead, and a souvenir for someone in the stands. Guided out by Rochester. Aurora will have another throw. Langdock again will toss it in. This time finds Adler. Langdock takes up residence on the far side. That ball toward the top of the penalty area, intercepted, and Rochester on it.
Rochester trying to get that quick counterattack, but it makes it hard when you really only have 1 or 2 players who are going with you on that counterattack. Leaves the player on the ball all by themselves, makes it really difficult, like they have to take on 3 or 4 players just to get behind Aurora.
Rupert will take this free kick. Angling in, and a free header. Nice save made by Emma Knack, able to shut the far side door.
Great ball there by Rupert. Nice little bend on the ball. It landed nicely inside the box. You can see in this replay here, there was 3 Minnesota Aurora players there that were unmarked at the top of the box. They had a really great chance there. Could have almost even brought the ball down instead of doing a header.
Aurora win the throw, and Rupert tosses it into Tiana Harris. Harris, the native of Whitby, Ontario, actually began her career collegiately at Mississippi State before transferring to Kent State.
You can see, apologies. You could see, though, Rochester was trying to press a little bit higher up the field there. Aurora was able to play through their lines of defense relatively easy until it got to that center back line where they finally were able to win it back.
Rochester will take the throw near side, and it's quickly won back by the Aurora. Here's Zbielich with it. Back to Zbielich. And as Rapp gets tangled up there with Adams, the defender, and that will win a free kick for Minnesota. Rupert hangs this one high. Knack out with the punch. Adler. Over to Langdock. Tried to play a teammate through. It was intercepted there by Mizutani. Again, though, the Aurora asking questions of this defense. They've done it all evening long. As we cross the hour mark here at TCO Stadium, 4-0 lead for Minnesota in their season opener.
A little bit of a foot race there. Aurora had a pretty easy time clearing it out, though. See Porba again coming off the line. Pretty confident with her feet there, making it really easy for the center backs to play out.
Harris with it and steers it back to the keeper, and Porball. Amanda Porball, the Westerville, Ohio native, actually holds her high school's record for career and season clean sheets. As Adler fends off the strong challenge. Oh, strong moves from Adler. Adler, the cross, Langdock sends it wide.
Langdock calling off Kat Rapp there, which I think was a really good decision. She made the long run all the way from the outside back to be the one getting on the end of that ball. the end of that cross, which is really impressive. You can see some subs being made here, which I think is a good choice by Coach Lukic. It's the 61st minute. You like to see some subs starting to happen. One, to keep the energy up. The players want some new fresh legs in there. But two, it's a really good opportunity to sort of hit the refresh button. Let's get forward again. We haven't yet had a goal this half, so maybe we want to get on that front foot again.
Hansen, Adler, and Wickers will come off, as Christelle Yewa, Morgan Stone, and Ramey Rapp all come in. Stone, the leading returning goal scorer for this Aurora club. Streaking up the near side is Sarah Speltz. Too much behind that, was flanked by Chelsea Brown. Could have been a good opportunity if that ball would have been on the money.
Morgan Stone also had a goal last year that was actually featured on SportsCenter Top 10. It was a banger of a goal, I will say that.
There's Yewa, the former Michigan State Spartan.
Another face that's familiar from last season. She performed great last season, was a go-to player for Coach Lukic.
Tried to find Zbilic, and that was cleared away. And what did Christelle Yewa spend her USLW offseason doing? She's a doctor now.
I love to see that, love to hear it. These women do have a lot going on off the field. It's important to remember that this is a side hustle for a lot of players still.
Just recently wrapped up her time at University of Minnesota School of Dentistry.
I think last year the fans had a chant for her that was like, she's our dentist or something.
At the team's inter-squad scrimmage here at TCO a couple weeks ago, they actually introduced her as Dr. Christelle Yewa in the starting lineup.
As they should have.
Right,
That's
it's something to be proud of. How many doctors that are also current soccer players do you see running around out there?
Not too many. Very impressive.
Here's Yewa with it in the middle of the field.
Great check there from Yewa to get the ball turn and play out to her attacking midfielders coming forward. Really impressive play there.
Harris, Zbilic, now Rupert. Tried to go back to Zbilic, and that carried up and hit the hand of Sarah Speltz.
Speltz almost looked like she hit it down with her hand actually on purpose, and honestly that's a good decision to slow the pace of this game down because Aurora, the momentum has shifted drastically again back to Aurora's favor here. So that probably was a good choice. Slow it down, keep the ball from moving forward.
A smart play there by Morgan Stone using the sliding challenge, able to break up what could have been a Rochester attack. Now here are the Aurora.
Tough clearance there.
Defender flubbed her lines, and now Stone goes careening in. A whistle and a foul given.
Once again, this is coming off of a really tough clearance by Rochester's back line. They need to be better to clear the ball high, wide, and then far because right now their clearance is going just outside of the 18.
And you can see how close that ball is to the 18 as we take a look at the Larkin-Hoffman rules of the game. Danny, explain sort of what the defender did wrong there.
Well, it just came out sort of cleats up, maybe a little bit behind the player. It was definitely not all ball, so it was not a clean tackle there. I think Morgan Stone did emphasize it a little bit here. You can see, yep, they just got their legs tangled up there a little bit. I do think she emphasized it, but it was probably a good call.
As that free kick goes sailing over the cage and out for an Emma Knack goal kick. Before we saw that replay, though, you saw how close the ball was to the 18. Rochester very fortunate that they got to her when they did, because another step inside, we could be looking at a spot kick for Morgan Stone from the penalty spot.
And referees are very touchy about that. you have to be well within the 18 for them to want to give a penalty kick, especially in a game like this where it is a 4-0 game. They're not going to want to give you that call. So the fact that it was even close to the line, I think the referee would always be cautious there and pull it outside of the box.
Here's Ramey Rapp. Tried to play it through, looking for Yewa. Ramey, one of 3 Rapp sisters on this Aurora squad. Ramey plays for University of Oklahoma. Made 2 appearances last year. Made 10 appearances for the Aurora, though, last season.
The Rapp sisters, again, are a fan favorite. Everybody loves to see when all 3 of them are on the field together. It's got to be a lot of fun to be able to play with your sisters.
Changes being made here by Rochester as Ginny Reyna, the youngest player on Rochester's team, still in high school, 17 years old, will trot onto the pitch.
Looked like there was some confusion about who was coming out. I was wondering if maybe there would be some positional transitions as well, but it didn't look like it.
Ball played back to Harris after the Aurora interception. Earlier this offseason, the USLW released their 7 newcomers to watch entering this year. Tiana Harris was on that list, a very strong group on that list, as Zbilic able to chase that down and keep it in. Nice job here by Zbilic, and it was cleared away by the defender. A shot goes high over the bar. That looked to be Cat Rapp, and it was.
A little messy there as Rochester was trying to push up the field. They got caught a little bit off guard as the ball popped in behind them, kind of caught them off guard. A little surprise.
Going back to that top 7 newcomers list, one that really stood out to me, you and I actually talked about this before the match. Asheville City SC's latest signing, Lana Izquierdo, former Southern Miss Golden Eagle. Had a chance to see her in person, cover her in person during my time in Conference USA and the Sun Belt. She is a talented player set to transfer to Mississippi State this upcoming season. That is a big pickup for Asheville City.
It's fun to see across the league how much talent is coming through. These top 7 players, these key players that they announced, are phenomenal players, and it's going to be a lot of fun as these divisions start to commingle with each other as the season goes on, to see how these players shape up against each other.
Probably the biggest signing of that group was Elise Evans for San Francisco Glens SC. She was their first ever USLW player signed. Pac-12 Freshman of the Year, United Soccer Coach's first team All-Region at Stanford.
The West Coast is going to be a lot of fun to watch, and as I said, their fans out there are coming out in droves, so it's really cool to see the attendance there as well.
I saw on Twitter the other day the Oakland Soul. Their attendance was off the charts. It was essentially a sellout for their first ever match.
Yeah, I think they took notes from Minnesota Aurora last year.
The sole part of that brand new NorCal division, 2 West Coast divisions for the USLW. As we mentioned earlier, 20 new markets added, 21 new teams. Every team in the Northwest and NorCal division, all expansion teams.
Mm-hmm. And I want to go back to Tiana Harris in that as being a key player, because she is one that Coach Lukic identified right away, and the players identified right away as a standout leader. Even though she's a new face to the team, they built a lot of trust in her right away and identified her as one of the captains, as we said. So, she's been really impressive, and I think whoever was doing the voting on these key players was probably spot on with her.
Lukic had mentioned to me earlier in the offseason that the thing they loved the most about her was her personality. She had a big personality that really meshed from the start with the rest of this group as Zbilic tries to play it ahead to Rupert, and that's out for a Rochester throw.
pace of this game has slowed a little bit, but it is fun to see that Minnesota Aurora's outside backs are still trying to get involved, still trying to go forward. That's been the game plan all along. That's why you saw so much of their first half play down the flanks, trying to get in behind. They're not stopping that. They're definitely not taking their foot off the pedal, but you can tell the pace of the game has slowed.
A change made for Minnesota as Olivia Groutman, the junior from Excelsior, Minnesota, will come in and gets a nice ovation from the home supporters. She's a local name, St. Thomas keeper. Made just one appearance last season, but 2 years ago, 18 appearances in 2021, a 1.43 goals against average for the Tommies.
Tiana Harris just being super safe on that play, kicking it out of bounds. Even though that was an out of bounds and she's giving the ball up, it's a really smart play there because essentially she was the only one left there. It becomes a one-on-one there, so very smart play by her.
Groutman will play it out to the far side. Aurora losing ground for a moment and able to get it out of their defensive third. A foot race here for Yewa against Mizutani, and Lisa Mizutani smart to just guide that out. Looking for the angle to cross. That's off the defender. A corner kick up coming.
Good play there by Christelle Yewa because there really wasn't a ton of players on Minnesota Aurora in the box there. So to be able to get a corner off of this was really good play by her.
Well, Stone will take it from the far flag. Stone hangs it high. In swinging. Yewa first to it.
I think she wanted that to be a little bit more in-swinging than it actually was.
Now back out wide to Stone. Has Langdock on the overlap to her left and leaves it off for her. A crafty ball played to Langdock. And that's cleared out for an Aurora throw over on that far side. Again, though, you can see very clearly what Minnesota wants to do. They want to occupy those wide spaces, take it down those alleys. They've had a lot of success doing that tonight, Danny.
They absolutely have. I think the big difference between the first half and second half, I would say, is their mentality has shifted a little bit from the purely goal-scoring mentality. That first half, they were relentless in goals. They were almost taking shots that I wouldn't have taken, really. Maybe they weren't the smartest shot, but you could see what they were trying to do. This half, there has not been that many shots.
Here's Cat Rapp with it. A pair of goals in that first half. Safely guides it back to Harris. Now they work it around to Rupert near side. Rupert angling toward Yewa, and it's headed wide of the near post. A good ball played in to the 18 by Lydia Rupert.
Great ball there. Once again, falling in between their defenders at the feet of Christelle Yewa. I actually think she might have had an opportunity to bring that down there. It was a good job to get her head on it, but that's a really, really difficult ball to redirect and actually get on goal.
Nice moves by Zbilic. Zbilic into the middle. Yewa, that one was behind her, and it just allowed the defender to get a foot on it. Now Reyna Brown overrun by Ramey Rapp. Yewa sends a shot, and Knack able to read it well to make the stop. One thing you said earlier as we approach the closing in on the 80th minute, you said earlier about the Aurora's approach. They want to score goals, high-octane offense, and Nicole Lukic understands that you're going to concede some goals when you have that approach. But playing at TCO, it's been a fortress the last 15, 14 matches now. Only 7 goals conceded last year. Tied for the 4th most clean sheets a season ago in the USLW. This is a stout team on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively.
There's no doubt. Coach Lukic definitely has a mentality of we're going to score more goals than you, in understanding that we might give up some goals. I think last year they really set their sights on being that top goal-scoring team in the league. Defensively, that wasn't necessarily their focus, and there was a couple games last year where they did have to come from behind, which as we know, poses some steeper hills to climb, can wear a little bit more on the legs of your players that you want to rely on. So I think this year, with bringing in the talent of Tiana Harris, and Ken's Langdock again, you start seeing that she is trying to put a little bit more focus maybe on that back line so that we can alleviate some of the pressure that goes on the forwards and puts us in a maybe difficult position.
That's something she pointed out to us when we caught up with her earlier this week about the tactics, and she said there's more similarities than differences this year to last year, and that allows them and their attackers to have more freedom, and it's because of the consistency. But you're right, it was very clear in their signing class, so to call it, that defense was on the forefront, bringing in, like you said, players like a Tiana Harris, a Faulkner, bringing back Mackenzie Langdock.
Well, there's no doubt that they can score. They have always had the ability to score. And when she deems the Aurora way, the game plan of what she wants to do in going forward, being creative, trying new things, when it comes to games that are really difficult, though, that becomes the challenge for the team. And I think that's where it becomes really difficult to just hang your hat on one thing, which is going forward when you are playing a team that is maybe equally as good as you.
Rapp will play it forward to Yewa. Out wide, Zbilic. It's an onside play to Jelena Zbilic. The cross comes in. Header goes wide. That was a well-placed ball right into the middle, and it found the head of her teammate.
That was a great header there. If she just tucks her chin a little bit, nods that down towards the ground, even if it's bouncing, I think that's almost every time a goal.
And Knack will play it forward off the goal kick. Stone is there. This Aurora team, they've just been moving in packs all evening long. Had another opportunity as Yewa went down. That drew some groans from the home supporters here at TCO. Over 5,000 in attendance tonight. 5,165 the official attendance. My apologies, 5,187. I don't want to shortchange.
That's an important number to not mess up.
It is. Here's Kat Rapp. A brace already this evening. Now Rupert providing the whip. Cuts back in and glove down again by Knack. An awkward clearance allows Zbilic to take it back.
Rupert has been really impressive this half. I think she's been standout player up the right side of the field, getting forward almost every time and placing some really, really well placed crosses into the box.
Knack will have it again. Emma Knack, as we mentioned earlier, signed to South Dakota State, will graduate class of 2027.
I think one of the biggest challenges that Rochester has faced tonight is actually their ability to clear the ball. Even on goal kicks, they've had a really difficult time getting the ball even 20 yards up the field. And really what that means is that it's inviting a lot of that pressure from Minnesota Aurora to just stay high and make it difficult for Rochester to connect one or even two passes.
That really plays into what Minnesota wants to do, because like we've mentioned all night, they want to be up in your face, high pressure. So the last thing you want to do is try to play into that, because it can only spell doom, and it has time and time again tonight for Rochester.
Yeah, they really have invited the pressure in a lot of situations.
Kat Rapp gets it back from Langdock. Now here's Harris, space to move with it.
The movement has really slowed as we come into the last 10 minutes here, which I think is the way that the game should go. Minnesota Aurora can probably take their foot off the pedal a little bit, save some gas for their upcoming games.
Oh, here's an opportunity. Yewa! Yewa! It's live! Yewa! And it's buried by Minnesota. It looked like Spielic got to it at the last minute. 5 goals in the opener.
And you could tell they both wanted that goal. They both wanted to say, no, that was me tonight. What a great ball over the top. Christelle Yewa, great job to bring that down with her chest. Get anything on the ball to get around the keeper there, to get around Knack. And Zabielic was just there to finish it off. But great teamwork there.
That's now the 9th match in Aurora history with 3 or more goals. 5 in the season opener. A statement for Minnesota. Zabielic, 2 goals and an assist last year, now opens her own account on the season. And now Faulkner steps up with the takeaway. Aurora still going for it now. Here's Ramey Rapp.
Maybe that put a little pep back in their step to try to get forward again.
Zbielic carrying it in. Zbielic, the shot sent and blocked away, and it's cleared away by Madison Salas. Here's Rupert now. That forces the defender just to clear it out. We've seen a lot of that for Rochester with pressure in their face, no options going forward, just have to dump it out, and it results in Aurora throw-ins.
You do have to try to alleviate that pressure at some point, if not anything for anything else, but just to be able to build in a rest.
Yewa got a head on it, and it was Emma Knack who was there. Stuck that left hand out and batted it away. It'll be another corner kick coming for Morgan Stone in the Aurora.
Once again, from the wide flank areas, a cross coming in that's perfectly placed at the 6-yard box. Makes it really hard for Emma Knack to come out and read.
Rupert joining the attack. That ball's through. We'll roll past the end line. Consecutive corners now coming for Minnesota. Well, these fans have had a lot to cheer about.
I think Rupert was trying to go for goal there, so maybe we're starting to see that mentality shift again to let's score more.
The wind has also shifted. You can see that red corner flag to Stone's right.
She's definitely going to want to get a little bit more in-swinger in here because of that wind, which is going to be pulling it away from the goal.
Low line drive met there first by Duda Christina. And the flag comes up. Stone in an offside position.
Good job by Rochester there to get up quickly and catch Morgan Stone offsides there.
Rochester will go back to the drawing board, still seeking their first victory of their franchise's existence. Should this result hold up, about 5 minutes and change remaining, they will take on the Green Bay Glory in their next contest, who have also yet to win this year, as Yewa, that sails wide, had a good look at the cage. Yewa really going for it in these final couple minutes. That's the 3rd or 4th good look she's had.
Yeah, I like that she's trying to receive the ball and turn and get at players now to get towards goal. You can see for that first 30 minutes of this half, there wasn't a ton of that. It was more her receiving the ball and laying it off to the oncoming center midfielders. This time now she's turning, trying to get at players, and that's a lot of fun to watch.
Faulkner heads it back forward. It's Ramey Rapp with it. Now here's Langdock. Going back to that upcoming Green Bay Rochester fixture, 6-3-3 last year were the Green Bay Glory, second in the Heartland table behind this Minnesota Aurora team, as crashing in was Bielich, and that will be a free kick.
Green Bay was Aurora's opening game last year, and that was one where Green Bay actually came out, scored early on. Aurora had to come back from behind. That was their first big challenge of the season. There was a couple other games that happened like that as well, where Aurora had to climb out from behind. So it's not uncommon to see that, but I do think that Rochester has a pretty tough next couple of games in front of them.
After Green Bay, they'll host this Minnesota Aurora team on the 4th of June, then 2 straight road matches at Bavarian, at Green Bay, before taking on another newcomer to the Heartland Division, RKC Third Coast.
And RKC is another one of those teams that struggled so far in this season. They also had a loss to Bavarian and as well to Chicago Dutch Lions. So you can see that the new franchises are struggling to, I think, get up to the pace of this game.
Speaking of those Dutch Lions, that is Minnesota's upcoming opponent. Aurora will hit the road and take on the Dutch Lions in 3 days' time. They beat RKC Third Coast 2-1 on Sunday. They are just underway with crosstown foe Chicago City this evening. The Aurora did win both ties against the Dutch Lions last season. They outscored them 6-1 across the pair of matches. The bad news for the Dutch Lions, all 6 of those goal scorers back this year for the Aurora.
Dutch Lions have had some changes to their roster, though, so I think it's going to be a completely new team that they face.
A free kick given after the whistle and the foul. Looking elsewhere, though, Danny, around the Heartland Division, we've talked a lot about Bavarian United's last match against Rochester, but on the season, Bavarian, a really bright start to the campaign, 6 points atop the Heartland table right now. And you mentioned they defeated RKC Third Coast 4-0, 2 straight clean sheets.
Yeah, they have had a really, really impressive start. I've actually been a little bit surprised by how impressive of a start they have had. They're going to be a fun team to watch this year. I think you can see in their first 2 games, they clearly have a lot of confidence, and coming off of 2 wins, that does help you in knowing, like, we can hang at this level. So it's going to be fun to see what they continue to produce this season.
And perhaps a real litmus test for both Bavarian and Minnesota coming up later in the year. They'll play each other twice in a 3-match span. Minnesota will host Bavarian on June 17th before making the return trip 7 days later. Impressive to me is the fact, as here's Kat Rapp shaking free. Kat Rapp progressing toward the final third and tried to play her sister through. It was behind her. But I think impressive to me about Bavarian, they've had 3 different goal scorers. Of the 5 goals that they've scored, 3 different players have gotten in the action. Kate Cullison had a brace in that 4-0 win over RKC Third Coast.
Yeah, that's certainly an interesting stat because it does lend to the fact that they are not just relying on one player that they're trying to play through, but that they can rely on a lot of different players and who have different strengths. And I think that that will be something that the likes of Aurora are going to have to probably adjust to. I just want to touch on that play by Kat Rapp. I believe she just tried to take on 4 or 5 players there. Really impressive footwork by her.
Knack hugs the near post and grabs that. It has been an impressive opening match to the 2023 campaign for the Minnesota Aurora. 2 minutes of stoppage time here at TCO. And Minnesota will send these home supporters home happy.
They have to be happy with this performance. I'm sure Coach Lukic is going to have a lot of really positive things to say. Obviously, there's always things you can take away and improve upon, but not much here that I would say they need to go home and really stress about.
We said it at the top of our broadcast. The Minnesota Aurora weren't sneaking up on anybody this season. They did it last year. This year, different story. So much back, so much talent added. They come into this match, and their Heartland Division title defense off to a strong start. 5 goals over USLW newcomer Rochester FC as poor ball. Like that Groutman will come out and scoop that up.
And I think you're right, 17 returning players.
Full time at TCO Stadium. 5-0 victory. The Aurora Open 2023 in the win column. A dominant performance from Minnesota. Danny, quickly, your thoughts on this 5-0 victory.
It was lights out from Minnesota Aurora from minute number 1. They played with the attacking mentality. You knew they wanted to get forward. They capitalized on opportunities. Rochester had a really tough time trying to clear the ball and even connect a couple passes to try to get forward. It was a tough night all around for Rochester.
Time now to...
This is Fox 9 News at 9.
Our beautiful stretch of weather continues, and it's staying dry, which is not what we usually see for Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, we begin tonight with your weather first, and Chief Meteorologist Dan Leonard. And, you know, if you want to get outside, this is a nice forecast.
Yeah, I have one word that I want you to consider here. Go all the way back to 2000. Hold on.
Yes, start over. Okay.
I just
Reset.
rented these lips earlier